welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
So you sent in some really interesting material about sarcopenia and, well, potential ways to tackle it.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. We want to get a good handle on this condition, this age-related muscle and strength loss, and take a close look at what seems like a maybe surprisingly gentle approach.
But potentially very effective. A way to help us stay strong, stay independent, as we get older.
Exactly.
So yeah, our deep dive today is all about sarcopenia. The material you shared really flags it as this age-related decline in, well, both muscle mass and strength.
Right.
And we're zeroing in on insights from an interview with Caroline Berger de Femini. She's the founder of Studio Biopilates Paris.
Okay.
And she talks about the role of a specific Pilates approach. It's one based on the Merrithew framework, but really tailored for seniors in tackling sarcopenia.
Okay, let's unpack that then.
Yeah.
Sarcopenia. The interview makes it sound like it's more than just muscles getting a bit smaller with age.
Definitely more.
It's called a progressive musculoskeletal disorder. And what really jumped out at me was that it's now seen as a major reason for frailty and, well, dependency in older adults. That sounds pretty serious.
It really is serious. The interview clarifies that the impact goes way beyond just muscle wasting.
Yep.
We're talking about, reduced mobility, making everyday stuff, things you don't even think about, suddenly quite difficult.
Right.
And a much, much higher risk of falls, fractures, which obviously has a huge knock-on effect on quality of life.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's even pinpointed as a key part of what they call frailty syndrome. And get this, it affects almost a third of people over 80.
Wow. Nearly a third. So what's behind it? Is it just, an unavoidable part of getting old?
Well, the interview points to a few things. Natural aging is definitely a factor, sure. But it often gets sped up by things like, well, physical inactivity, which can sometimes creep up on us as we age.
True.
And nutrition plays a big part, too. Deficiencies there. Plus things like chronic inflammation, hormonal changes. And interestingly, the interview also mentions certain health conditions can feed into it. Things like kidney failure or neurodegenerative diseases.
Oh, is it complex?
Very complex. Understanding all these angles is crucial. And the interview really stresses why it's a public health priority we need to anticipate.
Right. Okay, so we get the problem. Now, this interview you mentioned talks about Pilates as a potential answer. Not just any Pilates, though. This specific kind from Studio Biopilates Paris, using that Merrithew framework. What's special about this method?
What's really interesting is how it's described. The interview calls it a gentle, yes, but also progressive and, crucially, very targeted strengthening method.
Targeted? How?
The focus is on those deep muscles, the ones closest to the spine, the joints, the ones that give us stability, support our skeleton, often overlooked,
Yeah.
But when you think about it, those are exactly the muscles we need for balance, coordination, mobility, everything that sarcopenia tends to undermine.
That makes a lot of sense. So less about beach muscles, more about that deep foundational strength.
Precisely.
The interview mentioned adaptability, too. How does that fit in when you're dealing with sarcopenia?
Oh, that adaptability is absolutely vital. The interview really highlights how Pilates allows for super specific interventions.
Okay.
So say someone's got weakness in their legs or trunk instability or joint pain, muscle stiffness, all pretty common with sarcopenia. The exercises can be tailored, adjusted to target those specific issues. Plus, there's this huge emphasis on control, on precision, on being aware of your movement,
Right.
which means you can strengthen things without, putting dangerous stress on joints or muscles that might already be vulnerable. No sudden, jerky movements.
Okay, so these slow, controlled movements, how do they actually work against the muscle loss itself?
Well, the interview explains it's about how these deliberate movements engage the body. There's a big focus on breathing, on keeping good alignment. And the exercises are designed specifically to fire up those deep stabilizing muscles, core, back, legs.
Right, the foundations.
Exactly. That deep engagement helps bring back postural balance, improves coordination. And like we said, because it's so adaptable, people with sarcopenia can actually do it safely, especially if they have proper guidance.
And you mentioned studies. The interview cited some encouraging results.
Yeah, quite promising, actually. It mentions studies suggesting even just 2 sessions a week.
2 a week?
Yeah, can lead to noticeable gains in muscle strength, better dynamic balance, that's your balance while moving,
Okay.
and even less chronic pain for older adults. And maybe most relevant for sarcopenia, the interview points out Pilates can help slow the loss of what they call type 2 muscle fibers.
Type 2 fibers.
Yeah, those are the fast twitch ones. Crucial for power, quick reactions, like catching yourself if you stumble.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
So losing those makes falls more likely.
Exactly. And Pilates seems to help preserve that quick response power.
That's a really key point, the type 2 fibers and falls. And the interview directly linked Pilates to fall prevention.
It did, explicitly. By improving both static balance, just standing still, and that dynamic balance we just talked about, Pilates directly cuts down the risk of falls, which, as we know, is a huge issue with sarcopenia.
So how does it do that mechanically?
It's about strengthening the leg muscles, yes, but also improving proprioception.
Proprioception. That's
Yeah.
your body's sense of where it is.
Exactly. Your internal GPS. Kind of. Improving that helps restore smoother, safer movement. The interview calls it a true lever for preserving functional independence.
Functional independence, that's the goal.
Absolutely. Better balance means fewer falls, which means staying independent for longer.
Okay, theory sounds good.
Yeah.
But what about real-world results? Did the interview mention what actual clients experienced at that studio?
It did, yeah. And the benefits reported by their senior clients sound pretty compelling. Well, significant improvements in posture, which often suffers with age and muscle loss. People reported less joint pain, feeling more stable overall,
Nice.
and maybe most importantly, renewed confidence. Confidence in just moving around day to day without being afraid of falling or getting hurt.
That psychological aspect is huge.
Definitely. The interview mentioned some clients feeling really empowered, like they were getting control back over their bodies.
And it wasn't just physical stuff, was it?
Yeah.
Something about breathing.
Right. The interview highlights how the focus on breath in Pilates helps with stress reduction, just general well-being. That mind-body connection is key. And they also noted improvements in coordination, concentration, which helps not just physically, but also in sticking with the activity long-term.
Keeps you engaged.
Yeah, they actually used the phrase genuine transformation in how people saw their bodies and their progress. That sounds pretty powerful.
It really does. So, okay, if someone with sarcopenia wants to try this,
Yeah.
how do they structure sessions? It's not one size fits all, presumably.
Oh, definitely not. The interview really stresses the personalized approach. Starts with an individual assessment.
Okay.
They look at functional limits, pain, medical history, all of it. Then they build a progressive program tailored just for that person.
Makes sense.
And they use accessories too, resistance bands, small balls, maybe reformer machines to keep it safe, but still allow for steady progress. No overloading.
What about group classes? Did they mention those?
Yes, they offer adapted group formats too, and the interview points out some real benefits there.
Like,
Well, it's stimulating, it's social, which can be really valuable for seniors. That group energy can boost motivation, help people stick with it.
yeah, community helps.
And importantly, it helps combat social isolation, which can be a real issue for older adults sometimes.
Good point. Now, we've talked a lot about the exercise part, but the interview also touched on nutrition being crucial, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely vital. A really key point in the interview.
It underscores that holistic idea, movement, and nutrition.
Exactly. The interview makes it clear. Exercise alone, even this targeted Pilates, isn't enough without getting the protein intake right.
Right.
They actually work with nutrition pros to educate clients, talking about things like anti-inflammatory foods, getting enough leucine, that's a key amino acid for building muscle, and making sure vitamin D levels are good.
So multiple levers to pull.
Definitely. Nutrition is presented as an essential partner to the physical work.
Okay, that sounds really comprehensive. And thinking longer term, can Pilates also be used preventatively before sarcopenia even becomes a major issue?
Yes, the interview strongly suggests that. It positions Pilates as a great preventative tool.
How so?
By starting it earlier in life, you can proactively keep muscle mass up, keep joints strong, maintain good coordination. It's framed as a really good way to promote healthy aging, basically, to get ahead of that potential decline in mobility.
Makes sense to be proactive.
Yeah, the interview actually encourages people over 50 to think about adding Pilates to their regular wellness routine, citing all those benefits, physical, mental, social, as a powerful preventive strategy.
So wrapping this up, what are the main takeaways from this interview about Pilates and sarcopenia?
Well, the bottom line from the interview is that Pilates, done safely and with proper guidance, seems to be a gentle, accessible, yet really comprehensive way to fight back against sarcopenia's effects.
Gentle, but effective.
Exactly. It's presented as a valuable tool, not just for, living longer, but for aging well, maintaining independence, keeping your mind sharp, enjoying life.
Quality of life.
Right. And the interview really hammers home that holistic and interdisciplinary approach, movement, breathing, nutrition, professional support, all working together. And in that context, Pilates isn't just exercise. The interview calls it a philosophy of care through movement. It fits perfectly into that bigger picture.
A philosophy of care through movement. I like that. Okay, so for everyone listening, we've dug into sarcopenia, this significant age-related muscle and strength loss.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And we've explored how this specific form of Pilates looks like a really promising, adaptable, and gentle way to help manage its effects, to promote healthy aging. We've covered improving strength, balance, cutting fall risk, enhancing quality of life.
Key benefits for sure.
So, thinking about that interconnectedness, the interview highlighted movement, breathing, nutrition. Here's something to ponder. What small but maybe significant change can you explore in your own routine? Something to proactively support your muscle health, your overall well-being as you age. Maybe that's part of developing your own philosophy of care through movement. Something to think about.